Welcome back to Aliyah and Chill. I'm your host, and today we're exploring that magical moment when you first set foot in Israel as a new Ole. Fair warning, this episode contains themes of bureaucratic reality checks, taxi driver philosophy, and the immediate realization that everything you thought you knew about Israeli efficiency was beautifully wrong. So there I was, on El Al Flight 001, finally making my Aliyah after months of preparation. I'd read every guide, watched every video, and mentally rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. I was ready for my triumphant arrival in the Jewish homeland. The pilot came on the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ben Gurion Airport. Local time is 6:30 a.m., temperature is 28 degrees Celsius, and welcome home to all our Olim Chadashim. Welcome home! I started tearing up. This was it, the moment I dreamed of. I was finally... Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop. And remember that Israel operates on a first-come, first-fight basis for everything. Wait, what? The first sign that Israel was different came during deplaning. In America, people wait politely for their route to be called. In Israel, the seatbelt sign turning off apparently signals the start of a contact sport. A sweet-looking grandmother in the row behind me suddenly transformed into an Olympic sprinter, vaulting over seats with her carry-on luggage like she was escaping a burning building. "Excuse me," I said politely. "I think it's my rouse turn." "First time in Israel?" she asked, with a knowing smile. Already 3 rows ahead of me. I was learning Israeli social dynamics before I'd even gotten off the plane. Ben Gurion Airport was like entering a parallel universe where everything was familiar but slightly off. The signs were in Hebrew, English, and Arabic, but somehow I still felt completely lost. It's like being in a movie where everyone speaks your language, but you don't understand the plot. I followed the signs for immigration and found myself in what can only be described as a professional queuing competition. There were lines for citizens, lines for tourists, lines for Olim, and lines for people trying to figure out which line they should be in. I approached the new immigrants window with my carefully organized folder, beaming with pride and excitement. "First time?" asked the immigration officer, barely looking up. "Yes! I'm making Aliyah. I'm so excited to be here. This is such an amazing..." "Passport." "That's it. Passport. No congratulations, no welcome to Israel, no acknowledgement that I'd just made the biggest decision of my life." He stamped my passport with the enthusiasm of someone processing parking violations. Baggage claim was my introduction to Israeli efficiency. Beautifully chaotic. The carousel started moving, and suddenly everyone pressed forward like they were trying to board the last lifeboat on the Titanic. Personal space, not a concept. Standing in a civilized line, adorably American. In Israel, baggage claim is apparently full contact. A woman next to me was giving instructions to her husband in rapid-fire Hebrew while simultaneously blocking 3 other people from reaching their bags. "Slicha," I said politely, trying to reach my suitcase. She looked at me like I'd spoken in ancient Aramaic. "English? Sorry, excuse me. Ah, American. Welcome. But next time, just push. This is Israel." Sound effect, baggage carousel chaos, multiple languages overlapping. Customs was surprisingly smooth until the officer asked that simple question. "Reason for visit?" "Aliyah." His expression changed completely. Suddenly, I wasn't a tourist. I was a problem that required paperwork. "You have apartment?" "Well, I'm looking." "Job?" "I'm planning to..." "Hebrew?" "I'm learning." He sighed, like I just told him I plan to solve the Middle East conflict with interpretive dance. "Welcome to Israel," he said, but his tone suggested I might want to reconsider my life choices. The taxi ride from Ben Gurion was like a masterclass in Israeli philosophy, delivered at 120 kilometers per hour while weaving through traffic that followed laws I didn't understand. "First time Israel?" asked my driver, glancing at me through the rear-view mirror while somehow maintaining perfect awareness of the road. Yes, I'm making Aliyah. Ah, very nice. You know Hebrew? A little. You learn fast or you suffer. No choice. Where you live? I'm still looking for an apartment. Ha! Good luck. You have money? Some savings. Not enough. Nothing is enough. But don't worry, you survive. Everyone survive. This is Israel. This was the most encouraging, discouraging pep talk I'd ever received. My first stop was the bank to open an account. I'd been told this was essential, so I arrived with my passport and every document I'd ever owned. The bank teller looked at my paperwork like I'd handed her hieroglyphics. You want account? Yes, please. You have job? Not yet, but, address? I'm staying temporarily with credit history in Israel. This is my first day. She stared at me with the expression of someone dealing with a very slow child. Come back when you have life. I left the bank with no account, moderate confusion, and the growing suspicion that Israeli bureaucracy was designed by people who found regular bureaucracy insufficiently challenging. My first grocery shopping experience was educational. I walked into a supersol with American confidence, expecting familiar brands and clear organization. Everything was in Hebrew. The vegetables looked different. The milk was in bags. The checkout process seemed to involve complex negotiations I didn't understand. I spent 20 minutes looking for a familiar breakfast cereal and eventually left with what I hoped was granola, but might have been cat food. The cashier said something in Hebrew. I smiled and nodded. She repeated it, louder. I smiled wider and shrugged. A woman behind me in line leaned over. She's asking if you want a bag. Oh, yes, please. Kambat, the woman said helpfully. I repeated it. Kambat. The cashier smiled for the first time. Apparently, attempting Hebrew, even badly, earned points. My first apartment viewing was a cultural education. The real estate agent showed me a place described as spacious that was roughly the size of my former walk-in closet. Very nice, she said proudly. 2 rooms. I looked around. Where's the second room? Kitchen. The kitchen was an alcove with a hot plate and a mini fridge. The bathroom was optimistic in its use of space. What about storage? Storage? She looked confused. You have bed, you have kitchen. What more you need? Apparently, my American concept of stuff was incompatible with Israeli real estate reality. My first Shabbat was magical and exhausting. I was invited to a neighbor's family dinner, where I discovered that quiet family meal in Israeli means 12 people arguing passionately about politics while simultaneously passing around enough food to feed a small army. You like Israel? Asked the father. Yes, it's amazing, though I'm still adjusting. Adjustment is for tourists. You Israeli now. No more adjustment. But I don't speak Hebrew yet, and I need to find work. Details. You Jewish, you here, you Israeli? Mazel tov. I realized that in Israel integration isn't a gradual process. It's apparently immediate and non-negotiable. My first week ended with the realization that everything I'd read about Aliyah was both completely accurate and totally wrong. Yes, Israelis are direct, bureaucracy is challenging, and the learning curve is steep. But I also discovered that strangers become friends instantly. Everyone's an expert on your life and happy to help, and somehow the chaos has a rhythm that starts to make sense. Plus, the hummus really is better, significantly better, life-changingly better. That's all for today's episode of Aliyah and Chill. Remember, arriving in Israel is like jumping into the deep end of a pool. It's shocking at first, but once you start swimming, you realize you're exactly where you need to be. And hey, if surviving your first week in Israel while maintaining your sanity sounds like an impossible challenge, Maybe it's time to call Easy Aliyah's VIP concierge service. We'll help you navigate everything from bank accounts to grocery shopping without the cultural whiplash. Until next time, welcome home, and remember, in Israel, every day is an adventure whether you planned it or not.